My 28M wife, 28F, treats me like an ATM. Not sure if I should post here or personal finance, but I'm at my wit's end. My wife makes $45,000 per year in accounting. She could easily be making $50,000, $60,000 per year, but she took the pay cut to work with a public accounting firm and help get her professional accounting designation. I lost my consulting job in December and got hired working for a COVID-19 related startup in March. I'm now pulling in about $125,000. We had both agreed to live with my parents until our student loans were paid off. Hers is $22,000 and mine is now sitting at $17,000. And we can start aggressively saving for a down payment on a house which since the market been on fire in Ontario, Canada for over 2 decades. With our differences in income, I'm essentially bringing home twice her salary each month after taxes. Because of this, she expects me to regularly give her $500 in pocket money while I consistently pay all her bills. I'm cool with that. I also recently paid her $3,000 for her CPA exam fees and to take part in a tutorial to help make sure she passes this time. She constantly is pressuring me and asking me when we can buy a house when we don't even have enough to put a down payment on a studio apartment, which goes for $500,000 where I live. She desperately hates living with my parents because she feels like they judge her for not helping out around the house since both our jobs usually have us working late into the evenings. She's been also pushing for me to take her on a vacation since she'll have time off from work. We didn't get a chance to go on a honeymoon last year due to COVID, so I was actually okay with doing a vacation, despite me not being comfortable with the virus still a major concern. The annoying thing is she brings back all these caveats. For example, we can't go to a single destination, we have to do multiple. I.e., we can't go to Paris, we have to go to Paris and Cannes, or we can't just go to LA, we have to go to LA and Hawaii or LA and Cancun. All of which are way outside of any budget I can put together. Another caveat is that she doesn't want to stay in a hotel that is rated less than 4 stars. And finally, if she doesn't like the pictures of the hotel, we're not staying in it. This is a vacation that I would be probably contributing 90% if not all, and if it goes over budget, of course I'm expected to pay for that too. She often compares our lives to those of her friends since they post all their exotic vacations on social media, trying to guilt me into expanding my budget. She's also been trying to get me to start my own side hustle and business to make more money, like selling cars. She saw that I had flipped my parents' car really quickly, so she wants me to start buying up used cars and selling them for a profit. This is partly driven by the fact she knows one couple that is making good money doing this. She is also on my case about switching jobs right now because the COVID cases are dropping, which isn't an invalid point, but I work late into the evenings and would rather do anything else than spend what little time I have left in the day to search for jobs. Also, on the topic of careers, she constantly comes to me complaining that she hates accounting and that she doesn't want to finish it anymore. Usually I'm all for allowing people to pursue what they want, but I've drawn a line in the sand with her completing her designation since her family has put so much effort in her to complete it. And #X200B. I was actually okay with all of this, absolutely everything, until this morning. Our anniversary is coming up in October and I had already told her I would get her an Apple Watch as an anniversary present, $600, and she was super excited. I told her that I wanted the new Nintendo Switch that was rumored to come out and she agreed to get it for me. Finally, the Switch was announced today and I told her how much it would be, $449. When I sent her the link this morning, she texted me back that it would have to count towards my anniversary gift, October, and my birthday present, December. And I don't know why, but that broke me. I just feel like this relationship is so one-sided where all I do is give and she's never satisfied, and I know our relationship is still so young, but I really don't see her changing and I feel nothing but despair. How many times has she taken the CPA exam? I think you both need to sit down together and walk through your expenses and goals. Work together to prioritize and agree to a plan. If something's not part of the plan, additional money would need to be made to make it happen. She's not a partner, she's a dependent. It sounds like she values vastly different things and doesn't have a lot of emotional maturity. Sounds like you could sit down with a good counselor if she brings a lot of other good things to the table, but yikes. She sounds like a child. No wonder your parents judge her, she doesn't do anything. She's making $60K, that's not minimum wage, she can pay her own damn bills. You should be taking on about 2/3 of the expenses and her about 1/3, proportional to your salary. You should both be contributing to chores and work around the house like normal roommates. Doesn't matter whose house it is or how late you're working. No wonder she failing the CPA if she's this bad at finances. Look, she's not going to change the way she spends money in all likelihood. If you want to tied to a financial boat anchor all your life, go ahead. Otherwise you need to re-evaluate your marriage. $500 a month is not pocket money. You're rewarding her shitty behavior by continuing to fund her. If she so desperately wants to buy a house, why does she need $500 in pocket money? Why does she need to go on a fancy vacation? Her priorities are messed up, and now you know why she failed her CPA exam. She can't run the numbers to budget her own life. Ironic. This is so cringy. You both make enough money to buy yourselves stuff like watches and gaming consoles. If you're married, why haven't you combined some finances? What do you mean by her bills? You will never progress in life if you waste money all the time. Sounds like your wife is 50% of your maturity levels as well as behave like a daddy's girl, not like partner. I would just stop do her bidding. You don't need her, she needs you. You have the upper hand here, so either you explain her the situation and she starts behaving like an adult and not like a spoiled 20-yo, or consider your options. Your future is yours first and you do choices that advantage you. She literally drags you down instead of supporting you. My wife is borderline abusive to our 6-year-old daughter. What are my options? My wife always had a fraught relation with our older daughter, ever since she turned 3. Primarily because she views her as a daddy's girl, and believes that our daughter doesn't show her enough respect. Since the birth is our second one late last year, this situation has exploded. And now I believe she is outright abusive to her. She would yell at her all day, for the most trivial issues such as wearing her shoes inside or not cleaning her plates, or not finishing her food. By yelling, I mean screaming at the top of her voice. She also liberally uses cuss words at her when she screams. Tonight, she yelled at her non-stop for not folding her clothes at 9 p.m., when my daughter was extremely tired and was on bed trying to sleep. She then threw her clothes in the trash to teach her a lesson. These kind of incidents happen every day. She also occasionally hits her. I have threatened child services, so she has pulled back on slapping her and pushing her, regular occurrence prior. Now she swipes at her or pulls her hair, hand. Whenever I talk to her about this, she blames me for making my daughter a daddy's girl, and teaching her to not to respect her mother. In her mind, she doesn't get respected and that's why she is forcing our daughter to show respect. But in the reality the opposite is happening due to her non-stop yelling and screaming. My daughter is leaning on me even more. She is now traumatized about her mother and will do her best to avoid her, which is creating a toxic feedback cycle. After today's incident, I have made up my mind that I need to protect my daughter from her and move out. But last time I discussed this, my daughter begged me not to break up our family, and mentioned that she didn't want to leave her baby sister. I am curious to hear what people's thoughts are here. I still want to pursue divorce, but worry that as a single dad, I may not win custody and things will spiral out of control. I have suggested therapy to her, but she doesn't acknowledge there is a problem that requires therapy. She is open to couples therapy, but I worry that it will be a time-consuming process and the abuse will continue meanwhile. Borderline nothing. Your wife is abusing your children, and it will have lasting consequences on their futures. Get video. Save all correspondence and go to CPS. Report her, and then divorce her. Also, do not think for a moment that just because her ire right now is aimed at the eldest, it means your youngest is safe. They are not. Your children are in danger. In the meantime, as I understand this isn't something you can do immediately, through needing to gather proof, you need to be on alert. Make no mistake that she is an abuser and therefore should be treated like one. If she hurts your child again, you call the police. Immediately. You wouldn't allow a stranger on the street to hurt your child without consequence. Don't allow your wife to do it just because she's her mother. Can you secretly videotape these things? I know having proof will be the most important thing you can do. Work on that and keep protecting your daughter. Speak to a lawyer before you do anything filing wise. Please take her away. Please. I'm your daughter 25 years later and I wish my dad, someone would have taken me from my mom. I'm still very much traumatized. I still can't sleep. I still cry myself to sleep remembering what my mom did to me. Her words, her beatings, and I still have nightmares. My confidence is very, very low and it has taken me a long time to gain a little confidence with the help of my husband. You don't want to wait for your daughter to get married to be able to heal a little. Your wife is sick. She probably has narcissistic personality disorder just like my mom. Like others said, take videos and talk to a lawyer first. Your wife is abusing your daughter and you're enabling her. Your job as a parent is to protect her. You need to make arrangements to ensure that your kid is safe. Your wife is an a-hole for abusing the child, but you are an a-hole for just letting her do this. You say that now it's time to act, and move out. But where were you all this time? Why didn't you step in, shut your wife down, or protected your daughter in the moment? You said nothing about actually stopping your wife from screaming at your child or throwing her belongings into trash. Therapy might help, but you can't just be aside during this anger flashes or abuse moments. Talking doesn't help, then act. Just to add, videotaping or recording will help, getting witnesses, too, that perhaps saw your daughter's bruises or if she told them about her mom actions. Abuse only escalates. If you don't act now, it will get worse. Get legal advice as obviously laws differ from place to place. Record as much as you can. Your child is too young to see what's happening to her. This is far worse than breaking up. Be prepared for a fight because it will be assumed that you will be the worse parent, so gather as much evidence as you can. You'd better do the right thing and soon. Because stuff spreads like wildfire, especially online. No one is anonymous. Your poor little girl. Sometimes you have to do what is best for your child even when it's not what they want. But please take your little girl away from that monster of a woman. If someone reports this child abuse, and CPS were to get involved, things could be worse for your daughter. Take care of her, Dad. She needs you more than ever now. I think you should set up cameras for when you're not home. Can you imagine how much worse she is to her when you're not there? Save your daughters while you can, or they will grow up to hate you too for not having their backs. She's too young to understand that breaking up the family is the best possible thing that could happen. The abuse will only get worse as she gets older. Document the abuse and gear up for a custody battle. Show proof that she is abusive to save your daughter the trauma of having to testify. My son's 18M. Mother's family poisoned him against me. He thinks I, 33M, abandoned him. Judging by the age, I'm guessing you all know how young I was when he was born. His mom, my ex, we're best friends since we were in kindergarten. She was the love of my life. We were together from 5th grade up until our sophomore year. Her family just made us stop having contact, they moved and everything. For the longest time I wondered why, but now I know my answer. Beginning of June I'm sent a TXT from an unknown number. You don't know me but, and after a long message he tells me he's my son. And wanted me to know he graduated from high school, got accepted into college no thanks to me. He just wanted me to know that he managed to do it without his deadbeat father. I have my cell on my Facebook page and stuff, so he probably got it from there. So part of me was thinking this had to be a prank, but he mentioned my ex. I had to call him and ask to meet up. He at least agreed. I was nervous meeting him, but he seemed to hate me. It was very emotional for me because I saw so much of my ex in him and also some me. And I never had a clue. My ex passed when he was 2. Her parents told him I wanted no involvement in his life. But I was never even told of his existence. I absolutely would have been around if I knew I got her pregnant. He didn't believe me. And he thinks I'm just trying to cover my ass. That's not it, but he seems to think so. They went as far as to tell him I broke up with her WHNE, she told me, and wanted nothing to do with him, as a way to convince him he doesn't need a dad like me in his life. My son left the park where we met still not believing me. He was really upset. What stung the most was the hate on his face. The way he was looking like I'm the biggest piece of shit on the planet. I'm crushed. I told him I want to know more about him, be in his life, and I absolutely would have if I'd known. He doesn't seem to want anything to do with me. They've said too much against me. How do I get him to see that I'm telling the truth? I'm heartbroken over this, never wanted him to think he was unwanted his whole life. Is there any way to convince him I didn't know anything about him? Or what do I do to navigate things with him? The idea of what you are has crystallized and festered over many years. You had the opportunity to explain your side. I would think it untypical to just change an opinion on the whim. It takes time. And I think this is most important. Don't let go. Show by being doggedly persistent that you are not what they claim you to be. Don't fucking give up. Keep contact and try to support him whenever possible. It's a long healing process that requires a lot of convincing through your actions. First off, this fucking sucks. I am so sorry you were robbed of your child's entire childhood. You must be reeling here. As for your son, I would suggest to continue reaching out to him, but in a non-pushy way. Don't assume he will or make him call you Dad. Validate all his anger. It's not his fault he was lied to. Tell him that you understand his anger and that you see why he's so angry. And that he has every right to be angry, however you did not know. Reiterate that as many times as it takes. Tell him that you too are angry that you missed every birthday and childhood milestone of his. Keep reaching out, checking in, asking if he needs anything. Tell him to confront his grandparents. Tell him to find the truth. I think the biggest thing to take from this is that he called you, he agreed to meet you. Try to remain in contact but don't be overbearing. Let him come to you. Send him small happy texts, reminding him that you're here for him if he ever needs you. It will work out. What about your parents? Even though they're your family, they were present at the time. Maybe they can help convince him that you truly didn't know. Or if you have a sibling, some family or friend present at that time in your life can maybe write a letter or email on your behalf. It shouldn't be malicious against his grandparents. Just a testimony from someone who knows you and knew you then, who can express your genuine ignorance and be a character witness for you. I wish you the best luck. I'm so sorry for your loss and to be hit with such life-altering and tragic news. I hope you and your son are able to make the best out of knowing each other exist. Don't give up on him. 1. You need to give him time. 2. Try to reason with him a bit. Offer to show him where you were living at the time with evidence. The fact he was born in a different town from you backs up your story. 3. Show him with your actions you aren't that guy. Be reliable. Be interested. Follow up with him. 4. Be patient and loving. He will come around. You just told him that the people that raised him lied. All you can really do is let him process what you said, and maybe he will start questioning what he was taught as the truth. Only time will tell. The seed has been planted. Hopefully he will begin to question things and hopefully question his grandparents. Eek, I am sorry. This shit happened to me. I never knew my father, it was always kept under wraps. Mom later on gave it up and told me after her and my stepfather bullied me for being ungrateful over the phone. I ended up doing ancestry DNA and found him through a relative. Turns out my dad never knew I existed, he was in tears when I found him. What's even crazier is we share the same nervous tendencies, ability to fix and tinker with machines and strong will. We see eye to eye on most things. He's definitely my dad, and for 29 years I was robbed of not knowing him because of Mom's dislike of him and lying to cover it up. So glad I did reach out. Just sad it wasn't sooner. No child should ever be robbed of their biological parents, ever. My 25 female boyfriend, 25 male, is a local celebrity. He did not tell me this. How do I deal with it? I met John Smith a few months ago, and we hit it off. Since then things have been going really well. We get on great, we've said I love you, and we've rarely spent a night apart. Except he's keeping something from me, and he won't tell me what. He was upfront about it, in a way. John explained his ex used him to boost her own status, so he was cautious about that happening again. He said he liked and trusted me, so when the time was right he would tell me everything, and swore it wouldn't take long. I did debate just Googling him, but I figured when he wanted to tell me, he would, and given his clear trust issues I didn't want to push him. I'm not from this area, I'm only here for school, so I wasn't aware of local anything, really, least of all celebrities, but I was on a Zoom call with some friends from school and John walked by in the background and asked me something. 2 of my friends, who were born and raised here, immediately said he looked familiar, and asked me about him. I gave some information, thinking maybe they went to school together or something, but they said that my John Smith is actually John Smith, a local celebrity. He's also a national celebrity to an extent, though on a much smaller scale. He's not famous for anything weird, bad. It's something really cool, that makes a lot of sense given the context clues from the last few months. I can see how his ex might have used it and why he's hesitant to tell me, but I know now, and John hasn't told me himself, so I'm unsure how to proceed. Edit. I did consider just not telling him I know, but my concern with that is that if I let it slip that I knew before he said it, then he might think I knew from day one and was playing a long game. Too long did not read. Boyfriend is locally famous and scared to tell me. I found out and IDK how to tell him. Just explain that one of your friends recognized him. Explain that you're not interested in any sort of reputation or clout boost from him and that he should know that by now. Get it out in the open but don't make a big deal of it. Just talk to him. It's very possible he wanted a relationship as John Smith rather than John Smith. I completely disagree with anyone who tells you to keep this to yourself. Your boyfriend obviously had a very good reason to not tell you about his celebrity status, but now the cat is out of the bag. You don't care, which is a good thing, but I'm sure one of the reasons why he feels so comfortable in the relationship with you in the first place is that you have kept it real so far. So, I think you should keeping it real by simply telling him that your friends recognized him on camera and that you know now. Reassure him that you don't care and that you don't mind he kept it from you. But let him know that you know and that he can talk to you about it when he feels ready to. I completely agree about the being honest. Explain it just like you did here. Talk to him. Find out what went wrong in the last relationship and don't do it. The fact that you've been seeing him for months and nobody has recognized him in public or approached him while you're with him makes me think he isn't as big a deal as you or he thinks. Honestly, this is ridiculously silly. I think you are overthinking this. You can't undo learning about it, so just tell him exactly the truth. That you never looked him up but your friends recognized him, and reassure him you wouldn't use him to gain clout. It's big ed isn't it confounded face.